This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. Today's episode is brought to you by RapidCloud. Did you know that 53% of users abandon a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load? For businesses relying on WordPress, every second counts for user experience, conversions, SEO rankings, and revenue. And that's where RapidCloud comes in. RapidCloud is a high-performance managed WordPress hosting solution with advanced technologies like Lightspeed Enterprise and Object Cache Pro designed to deliver lightning-fast load times and handle the demands of today's dynamic websites. Whether you're running an e-commerce store, online learning platform, or a bustling media site, RapidCloud ensures lightning-fast performance, unmatched scalability, and enterprise-grade security, all backed by 24/7 expert support. RapidCloud empowers developers, business owners, and agencies to deliver seamless online experiences without ever worrying about downtime or slow load times. Use the promo code CODESTORY to get up to 25% off on all annual plans and 10% off monthly subscriptions. Offer valid for 2 billing periods only. That's promo code CODESTORY, all one word. Visit www.rapid.cloud and get started today. That's RAPYD.cloud.
We decided the deployment mechanism that the scanning capability is deployed in the client site, so via Docker or on within your CLI. And the choice to do that has a lot of benefit for the customer. When the scanner's running and it's sending thousands of attacks, you don't want those attacks to traverse the internet because it's going to take a very long time for that scan to run. So if it's instead running right next to where your code lives, your code base is, that round trip time is really fast. But the thing that it did for Stackhawk is we aren't having to scale the scanning engine ourselves. I'm Joni Klippert, CEO and co-founder of Stackhawk.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
The company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Lappart, and today how Joni Klippert built the ultimate API security testing platform for modern teams and dynamic applications. This episode is sponsored by SpeakEasy. Grow your API user adoption and improve engineering velocity with friction-free integration experiences. With SpeakEasy's platform, you can now automatically generate SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in minutes. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, and AutoTrader, you're in good hands. Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com. Joni Klippert has spent many years in startups. Post getting her MBA, she built her early career in Boulder, Colorado, and became very technical, learning new technologies throughout the businesses she worked for, like VictorOps and Splunk. Outside of tech, she's married with 2 dogs. Her favorite thing to do is travel with her husband to visit Michelin star restaurants. One of her favorites was called Azuermendi in Spain, as it was not only delicious, but an immersive experience. Joni had been building software for engineers for a long time. At one point, she started researching the last mile of DevOps and was surprised how far this particular group was behind in regards to tooling. She dreamt of automating the pen testing remediation process and stumbled upon an opportunity as it relates to DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing. This is the creation story of StackHawk.
StackHawk is an API security platform. We help teams understand their API landscape and application landscape, which informs what should be tested. And StackHawk has a very robust API security testing platform, which was the very first capability we came out with. There's a realm out there called pen testing, where you hire a human to attack your web properties to ensure that you're safe, right? It's part of SOC 2 compliance. You have to have pen tests on some regular cadence. Maybe it's yearly, 6 months, quarterly, whatever it might be for your organization. And they attack the running app and they give you a report of vulnerabilities. For us, we believe that much of that, other than the third-party validation, can be automated. So we help companies test their applications and APIs for vulnerabilities, and we help the software engineering team actually fix those bugs before they deploy to production. So I'd been building software for software engineers for about 10 years before we started. I went to a company called VictorOps. They were super early. We were a competitor to PagerDuty. At that business, the idea was, okay, DevOps is a thing. We're deploying code to production so frequently at this time. The idea that you should send alerts about uptime or latency or downtime or anything with your production assets to neckbeards eating Cheetos, watching dashboards, wondering what's going to break, and then they would be the first line of defense to fix things. At the rate that code is changing, there's no way that you could actually pass those alerts to that person. All that's really doing is increasing your time to know and increasing your time to resolve uptime issues. So when that company, VictorOps, was acquired by Splunk in 2018, I had the opportunity and a lot of support from CEOs I'd worked for and investors to go out on my own and start a new company. And I didn't exactly know what it would be. I know I built a lot of domain and digital transformation over about 10 years, so it's something I knew a lot about. I started researching what felt like the last mile of DevOps, which is, how is it that our security teams are so far behind? I'd be introduced to different security folks during DevOps Days Enterprise conferences, and they're like, we're just here to figure out how we can operate in a landscape where teams are deploying to production so fast, because none of their tooling or processes were capable of keeping up with that pace. The very first thing I was researching was pen testing as a service. I just thought it's so intellectually dishonest to have a human being attack your application and provide you with a PDF report of your vulnerabilities. And you're like, sweet, we're safe for the next year. It's like, are you kidding? Like, you deployed by the time that PDF was printed on a piece of paper. It's already out of date. How do we automate this process? And so I talked to like 50 different CISOs and VPs of engineering about their experience. And they just kept saying, it's not about the pen test. Third-party validation is great, but there's this technology that they use called DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing. And if you could automate DAST, that would be amazing. And I was like, okay, I'm not that smart. Why is nobody automating DAST? Like, is this crazy complicated? I know we're about to figure out what it was. That was how the company was founded. And I was on that customer development tour and I met my eventual co-founder, Scott Gerlach. And for him, he'd been a practitioner for a long time. So he was the CISO at SendGrid through the acquisition by Twilio. And before that, he ran functional security teams throughout GoDaddy for 10 years. And so he also had a very interesting disdain for products that were available because it was his job to try to make cybersecurity tooling accessible and approachable to software engineers in 10, 15 years of operating security teams. And he knew how deficient they were. And so we totally bonded over how do we support the software engineer and the software engineering lifecycle and also build and maintain secure software. So I met him, 2 or 3 times and then said, hey, do you want to do this thing? He fortunately said yes. And that's how the company was started.
Let's dive into the MVP of StackHawk, so that first version of the product that you and your co-founder built. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
The thing that bothered me about this space is there were a couple of open source products available. And anytime there's open source products in a space, people aren't building what's possible. Like it's interesting. It's like, how come nobody has modified any of these products to actually make them usable earlier in software delivery lifecycle? So we chose an open source scanner that did DAST, that had some support for APIs. We got it to run. We looked at the output. And what we realized is part of the problem is DAST was just so hard to use. It's like being in a Michelin star kitchen, right? There are a million tools in there, but the average human being, they just want to make a sandwich. They're like, I don't even know just how to find like a knife and something simple and be able to actually use this capability. It's highly capable in terms of the different tools that are involved, but getting an average person to use it was nearly impossible. So what we decided is, okay, the world doesn't need a better scanner. Oh, I found another 6 vulnerabilities out of 3,000 possible vulnerabilities. What it actually needs is something that people can use. And so we took this open source capability and made it very highly opinionated about how it should run and what the output should be such that it was accessible to software engineers. We took something that might take weeks or months to deploy, and we made it deployable via Docker and eventually a CLI. So it can run on your machine. It can run in CI/CD. You could point it at production assets if you wanted to, though that's not what we recommend. We informed it via a YAML file. With a few lines of YAML, I can actually identify a target and get a scan running in just minutes. And then another really important piece was the output as it was finding vulnerabilities in the open source version is it was so hard to discern what to pay attention to. It was just garbage output. And there's a statement that people say in cybersecurity, which is you can't get engineers to care about cybersecurity. That's bullshit. Like, they do care about security. They care about quality. But if you're a software engineer and your job is to deliver value to the market, and I give you a tool with output like this that's completely undiscernible, there's no way that they can afford to care about this. And so we took the output of the scanning capability and made it super easy to bundle by vulnerability type, then the path, then the request response, so that you could just zero in immediately on what is the highest vulnerability, where can I go fix it, and how do I fix it fast so that I can continue my job as a software engineer of writing code. So the MVP was, in sum, it's like taking an open source capability and just making it so easy to use and having a very PLG experience. So something that took weeks or months to instrument, a person could come to StackHawk, they could download the scanner, point it at a target, and complete a scan in around 7 minutes, I think was one of our fastest deployments. And it was often like 7 minutes to 10 minutes. So that was the MVP. And then we ended up adding, obviously, a bunch of goodies on top of that.
This episode is sponsored by SpeakEasy. Whether you're growing the user adoption of your public API or streamlining internal development, SDKs can turn the chore of API integration into effortless implementation. Unburden your API users from guessing their way around your API while keeping your team focused on your product. Shorten the time to live integration and provide a delightful experience for your customers. With SpeakEasy's platform, you can now automatically generate up-to-date, robust, idiomatic SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in just a matter of minutes. SDKs are feature-rich with type safety, auto-retries, and pagination, everything you need to give your API the developer experience it deserves. Deliver a premium API experience without the premium price tag. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory to get started and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. Let's move on to the goodies then. So tell me about how you have, from that point, progressed and matured the product. To wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is how you went about building your roadmap and how you decide, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with StackHawk.
After ease of use, it started to become, how do we test APIs very thoroughly? Legacy DAST tools didn't really have knowledge of how applications were built today. They expected browser-based applications that you would try to spider and you look for places to have inputs, essentially fuzz with inputs, looking for outputs that generated vulnerabilities. What we had to do was become the best possible API security testing platform, because that one API route could serve 2,000 pages on a website. So let's just scan the route and fix it at source so it makes it rip and fast. And then when you fix something, it's going to fix downstream. We went to market with REST and SOAP, and then very quickly first to market with GraphQL testing, next gRPC testing, and then continued to add capabilities to make sure that we could test APIs deeper, like not just really dumb fuzzing, but making sure that we're putting in appropriate variables that help pop the right types of vulnerabilities. So there was a lot of time spent on the scanning capability, and it was all very developer driven. So we built a product to be automated and to be used by software engineers. And what started to happen in the market is a couple of things. PLG in this space was slowing down as the market was starting to slow down in 2022. A lot of small companies were just trying to be companies, and they were buying less software. And then at the same time, we had been in market long enough that we started to get a lot of enterprises in evaluating stuff, which was very exciting. But that's a big change. And looking at our roadmap, it was, who is our ICP? How is it evolving? And what capabilities does this new audience need? And so there have been periods in the business where we're building either very strategic, just technology to make sure that we're being relevant, a relevant product in an API-driven world. And then there have been initiatives that are, okay, we have an evolving ICP. What do these less technical security folks who are ultimately responsible for the security of their applications, but rely on software engineers in order to make sure that they can do their job and build secure applications? What do we build for them? And so we started building more to help the security persona understand more about what was happening in software engineering. Like, where are my APIs? That's the thing that keeps them up at night. They don't even know. And we're like, they're in your code base. You can start there. Let me help show you where they are and then how fast that landscape is changing, so you know what to put under test. We always identify a large initiative, we build a roadmap around that, and then we fill in with all the stuff that you have to fill in, right? Like customer requests or hardening of our systems. But that's generally how we build roadmap.
I'm curious about team. I hear in that description you're talking about we. Tell me about how you built your team and what you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you.
Early on, when we were building out our technical team, I looked for experience. I just felt like this is a really interesting problem to solve. I think it's important to solve it. I'm going to hire engineers who have several startups under their belt of building SaaS, building authentication and multi-tenant SaaS, like building like the core pieces in a really scalable infrastructure, because the death knell is you hire inexperienced engineers to get an MVP off, and the second you start to get traction in your business, you have to rewrite your code base. That was not going to happen. I picked up really awesome folks that I had met in the Boulder community or had known that I knew would help tee up this platform for success. And then as we expanded outside of engineering, the value that I look for the most is I want to hire people that feel an inappropriate amount of responsibility for their title for the success of this company. I want them to care so much that they really think about the whole business and everything that they're doing today to make sure we are in a position to succeed and to win. Sense of responsibility, not this is my job and I do this one job. It's I'll do anything it takes to help make Stackhawk successful. And we've really tried to continue to find people with that. It can be hard as you scale, right? And you do start to hire more specific type employees than generalists, but that fire in the belly and that level of responsibility is something we really try to screen for.
This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. If slow QA processes bottleneck your software engineering team and you're releasing slower because of it, you need a solution. You need QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, AutoTrader, and many more, you're in good hands. Ready to ship faster with fewer bugs? Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com to see if they can help you squash the QA bottleneck. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in-user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted vCISOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. Let's flip to scalability. And this will be interesting because, who you're building for a very opinionated group and a group that also understands scalable software and, essentially requires it. Tell me about how you approach scalability. Was it built with scale in mind kind of from day one? Or were there interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown?
I think part of hiring really seasoned engineers have kept us out of that problem to date. Early technical decision we made, and I honestly didn't fully understand it as we were making it because I was so used to SaaS-based software, is we decided the deployment mechanism that the scanning capability is deployed in the client site, so via Docker or within your CLI. And the choice to do that has a lot of benefit for the customer in that when the scanner's running and it's sending thousands of attacks, you don't want those attacks to traverse the internet because it's going to take a very long time for that scan to run. So if it's instead running right next to where your code lives, your code base is, that round trip time is really fast and it makes the scanning capability really fast. But the thing that it did for Stackhawk is we aren't having to scale the scanning engine ourselves. So it's a very sort of inexpensive and highly scalable platform to run because as the scanner turns on, it's phoning home and we're getting all of the telemetry and streaming results live. And so there's a very heavy SaaS component to the business, but we aren't having to scale and manage scan runners on behalf of customers all over the world, running as many scans as possible. So that was a very smart technical decision that had benefits for both sort of the cost of running Stackhawk, but also the experience for the customer.
As you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, with Stackhawk in particular, what are you most proud of?
As a product person, what I would quickly say is the product's very elegant. You have brands, household name brands using your product and telling you how much they love it. There is an incredible amount of pride that I feel associated with that. But more than the product, our team is killer. Like our company culture is so much fun. Those early engineers I talked about still work here. They're 5.5 years in and they love coming to work. They love each other. It's just a really special place to be. And when one chooses to work this hard and do something like a startup, part of the value of that is you get to pick the people that you work with and build incredible relationships with them. So for me, the team and the cultural organism that is Stackhawk is something that I'm blessed to be a part of and really proud of.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
We launched the product with a very PLG focus. So easy to try and buy, land, and expand software. That's everything in DevOps. It's nothing in cybersecurity. It was actually really interesting to investors to be like, okay, you're not the 3,000th company trying to sell to a CISO. Those poor people, they're just inundated with enterprise top-down sales. And we're like, no way. This is sign up for a trial, use the product, open documentation. And the foundation of the company being that was really important. And I think it still has a lot of value for Stackhawk because people can tinker, play, get familiar with the product. And then once they enter a POV in a more enterprise sales cycle, it's super fast because they've had some experience with the product. But, the market was shifting. We're moving into more enterprise sales. The top of mind was the most normal stuff, right? Which is, okay, can we close these guys? These are huge customers. Do we have the product for them to be happy and successful? Are there a bunch of features they need that are different than when you're serving an SMB clientele? Fortunately, we had built a lot of those, so that was good. Will they grow? Will they adopt? And then can I find more? And I think a mistake we made, we just let it happen to us. We were rapidly trying to answer all of those questions that I just mentioned. And at the same time, we were spending a lot of money on an inbound focused demand gen marketing motion that works in SMB and it can provide air cover for enterprise sales. But it's a little wasteful because you really have to shift the motion to a more sophisticated enterprise and sometimes top-down sale. And I think we waited too long to do that. Like I would have augmented the team faster and get more bench in enterprise sales faster rather than making sure we checked off every single box of that handful of questions that I shared early on.
Joni, this will be interesting to hear. And I always get excited to talk about the future, right, with the founders and what's next and where are you going. So tell me about that future. What does it look like for the product, for your team, and for the whole company?
Yeah, I think the market is really starting to understand, the cybersecurity market, the importance of a really strong API security platform. Early on, And even within the last couple of years, I think there's been a lot of fear from the cybersecurity side of, oh gosh, so many APIs, they're getting released so fast. We can't keep up. We don't know where they are. With our journey, the evolution has been, okay, create a super fast, can run in pipeline, developer first testing capability. And then it was, okay, we have a great product to test APIs, but our buyer is in cybersecurity and they don't even know what APIs and applications they have. So let's help them. So that was the next piece, which is, okay, this is what your landscape, your attack surface looks like. Here's how fast it's changing. And we can even tell you in advance before an API or an application has been shipped to prod that it's under development so you can make sure that thing is tested. And what that has illuminated is the scope of the problem. If you're a mid-market company, you easily have 1,000 or 2,000 repositories in whatever code repository that you're using. And we see about 30 to 50% of those repositories contain APIs or applications that need to be under test with something like StackHawk. And that is very overwhelming for a security professional to realize that they have to get all of that under test and they need to use their developers to help them. The future of our roadmap is pretty AI heavy, but it's AI heavy in that we can do things that allow us to introspect the code base and get all of these assets under test very quickly and remove a lot of sort of the cumbersome human manual components of filling out a YAML file and knowing what your authentication mechanism is. And when you introspect the code base and use AI, it is so much faster. The stuff you could have written code for it before, but it would take a long time. And now we can just move a lot faster for our customers. So it's a lot about ease of use and testing your APIs at scale and leveraging AI to help us do that.
Let's switch to you, Joni. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
The first CEO I worked for is a woman that was building technology in the childcare, home care industry. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't care at all about what this company did. Like, it was not passion of mine at all. But when I met her, I was like, I have to work for this woman. She's just had such a presence. She was so convicted, so strong-willed, and I was really excited to learn from her. And to this day, that was pre-grad school. She is a coach of mine. And so when I approach her with things about how I work, how I show up for my team, she really helps me with that. And then Todd Vernon, I had the pleasure of working for at VictorOps. And when you are a first-time CEO, a first-time founder, there are a lot of things that come your way that you have never thought about before. And having a great CEO coach and mentor to help you understand what is important, and sometimes to help you realize there actually isn't a decision to be made here. I know you think there is, but here's how this is going to play out, is really useful to have somebody with so much experience helping to filter through the noise and helping me focus on what is really important in this job. So I am very fortunate to have those two in my corner.
Joni, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. Maybe they're on their way to go to a Michelin restaurant with you and they just want to show off the thing that they have built. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it to you right there on the plane. What advice you want to give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
First, congratulations, person. I'm very happy that you were so excited and have built the next great thing. But what I would say is this job, the amount of responsibility associated with being a founder is very high. I'm giving this advice to both the person sitting next to me on the airplane and myself right now. There is a danger a little bit in no longer being able to discern yourself as a human being from what you do for work. It can be very dangerous to have your identity completely tied to what you do and your company. And so what I would say to this person is enjoy it. And I understand the responsibility and I understand how easy that is. but also to carve out time for the other humans in your life and build tools to be really present with them, because one day that company won't be your identity anymore. And you want to know who you are when that's all done, and have all your champions that have been cheering you on along the way, continuing to have really great relationships with them.
That's fantastic advice. Couldn't agree more. Well, Joni, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of StackHawk.
Thank you for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port-in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
Thanks to tax reform, American businesses have opened doors across our communities, investing in manufacturing, workers, and equipment, spurring millions of new jobs with higher wages and better training, and setting a new record high in corporate taxes paid to the U.S. government. America's businesses open doors. Tell Congress to keep the door of opportunity open. Protect and strengthen tax reform. Paid for by Business Roundtable.